Fine. Got the presentation done. I'd like to get this started by 10. This right here will probably be the let people trickle in a bit. Yeah, won't work. Oh, hello. I'm gonna wait for people to trickle in real quick. Keep the presentation on full screen, and everything else will probably be. Actually, it might be easier to just use my phone for stream. Just to check the chat and stuff. Fine. YouTube's yelling at me for no reason. It's just like, oh, the bitrate's low. I'm just like, no, the bitrate isn't low. Yeah, I hope people can. I hope people can tune in. Right. Like, it's like. Well, I hope people can, like. Because I put it under Eastern Daylight Time. Not sure how far that calculates in either direction. Yes, we have a lot of things to discuss. a lot of stuff to connect. Might end up announcing it to the Discord. In terms of timing, we're actually, I guess we're a bit early. It's gonna be 10 at the latest. More people. But yeah, we should. Yeah, I'll give it like a 15-minute trickle period, and this will be. I think you can edit VODs. I can probably edit this out of the VOD. Like, I want the VOD to be like, the VOD should be like watchable. Like, it should be like, if you want to learn about this, the VOD should be there. Like, for people who weren't here for the stream. Alright, now we're still in the intro period. Yeah, realistically, we are going to be going. We're going to be going from like stuff that wasn't in videos yet to stuff that's like in videos. Like, this is going to be a full like start to finish kind of thing. Well, we're going before the start, realistically. Which you'll understand what that means whenever we actually get into the actual stuff. Yes, we will be hitting all the points. And if it hits 10 o'clock, I'll wait for about 15 minutes and then I'll call it a wash. I want to hit a decent viewer count just so I can make this a Q&A thing instead of just an edited video. At the very least, I want to hit like six, five, six. I'd like to get to like 10, but probably not going to hit 10. Like people consistently. So I can have some sort of like Q&A type thing for this. Yeah, I can probably answer Discord questions too. Yeah, I can make a... let's use the general chat. Sounds like a decent area to do question and answer type stuff. We'll give it until... do we have more people? Oh wow. Do we have... We have a few people watching. I'm gonna multitask here. We'll be looking at... I'll be looking at the Discord and I'll be looking at the YouTube chat. I'm considering 10 to be the cutoff. Once we hit the cutoff, I'm probably just going to start regardless. If they don't hit like I said, I'd like to have some sort of engagement. And I'm pretty sure due to the nature of this existing, it's going to end up being a bunch of people joining late. It's kind of how it was during the tier list stream. I'm not even remotely sure what the schedules of my audience is. so hard to have a stream like this. Alright, a few more minutes. Let's see, I'll just... slideshow. Oh yes, good evening. I'm not sure what the stream delay is. We could be hitting... And the way I'm looking at my phone, it's looking a little bit... The stream delay is looking a bit nasty. But this should still be fine. I'll still get the question. I'll be able to answer eventually. All right. Part of me kind of wants to like queue up like. I don't know if I want to do Deltarune music, because if I do Deltarune music, then I have to deal with materia. I gotta get like a Kevin MacLeod playlist going. That's what I'll do for the VOD, maybe. I'm gonna close unneeded applications. Keep this, yeah. I spent like, what, about like a few days making this presentation. It probably should look good. I'm taking classes for this stuff. It should look good. I think it looked good from presenter mode. I just used Google Slides because I thought that would be the easiest. Okay. Alright. We are starting very soon. A few minutes. I wanted to give us a bit of time for trickling. Everyone get their munchies. They're like beverages. Okay, we've hit 9:55. So I think that would be about the time I'd like to start. So yeah. Okay, so welcome to the lore stream. This is gonna be a wild ride for all involved. I'm going to try to make this rewatchable and pretty easy to understand. Now, we'll be going on a few roller coasters. You gotta strap in because this ain't gonna be. I don't know. I'm not gonna act like this is Kingdom Hearts or anything. So right here we have the presentation. As you can see, this is the orange Yoshi. Yes, I'm aware that the name is a very shitty pun. So we will start off by we'll do a bit of debunking of some of the things. Now, this is kind of a bit of a representation. So part of this is not canon. I'm going to make this very clear that the Mugen timeline is not a part of the Scratch Fusion continuity. What is canon is like small aspects of that. Like most of the characters in the Mugen timeline do not exist in the Scratch Fusion timeline. Besides, like, probably... Okay, we'll get to that. So, we'll go to what is canon now. So, yeah, this part is canon. If you've seen the ending of the... back to 2012, that is the most important aspect of the Scratch Fusion timeline. Not most important. It's an important part. So, the ending of that is important to the Mugen timeline, and it is important to the Scratch Fusion timeline for the character of Orange Yoshi. Yes, that is his name. That he is misconception. His name is not Jacob. His name is Orange Yoshi. So when I refer to just Orange Yoshi capitalized, that's this guy. And yes, there are parallel universes. There are many parallel universes. Mugen is kind of sort of parallel to Scratch Fusion. The event that happens within this shot is canon. They both happen similarly, but something really big changes between the different timelines. So in one timeline, he goes on to be more nomadic and do Mugen, fight the bad guys in Mugen. Now in a different timeline, he just kind of sits back and is an observer of most of the events and doesn't really get directly involved in many things. But aside from that, now that that's kind of put aside, we can get to the actual... Okay. Thank you, slides. Alright, so this part. Now for Scratch Fusion. So you may be wondering, what is this symbol? Why is it here and what does it mean? This symbol is very, very integral to Scratch Fusion and everything that I've made leading up to this. And you've kind of seen, if you look around, you'll see it. So this is, you may be wondering, why is Barry here from Bandits Quest? And that is because this is actually connected to Scratch Fusion. And so is T-Mat. We'll talk about what he is in a little while. So, you may be wondering what the hell, what even is this? This is a accurate representation of something very important in the universe's continuity, which is the stuff that happened before it even existed. So you know how, like, there was, like, nothing, and then this was, like, before there was nothing. there was a lot of dust. Now, what this stuff is well, it's not dust as you think it is. It's potential. It's the universe's infinite potential in the form of anything. Oh wait, are there some boss series that don't affect the timeline or takes place in an AU or not? We'll get to that eventually, but those are canon in their own way. When we start to get to the formation of the timelines and how they work and what constitutes as canon from Scratch Fusion's collab series. So in a way, I'll say the Akamanti arc and Professor Z are canon. So, okay, back to dust. So dust is literally the potential of matter in existence as a... Again, the world before anything was just a bunch of dust and endless fields of nothing. Like, for eons and multiverses and everything. So, after the dust... Well, not after the dust, like, within the dust, there is code, like binary. You know how, like, computer code is forged of, like, binary on and off. This was baked into this very dust. Now, due to this, there were also... They were called eminences. These are pre-existing things. The concept before it became the concept. So, for instance, like, there's an incarnation of, like, human will and, like, humanity. There's an incarnation of... It'll just be called the cat. We'll call it the cat. There's also chaos and, like, order and, like, control. Like, when you see these things, these are the original forms that this stuff took before it became actually existing. So within all this stuff and potential things and nothing really happening, there was the shell that came before. So this thing was in Scratch Fusion 3 Part 1. This is the shell that came before, also known as the Divine Shell, containing the admin code. And by extension, you know, the thing that's needed to cause things to start actually happening. So wherever this came from somewhere like probably our world, more than likely our world, but again, it could have been from somewhere completely different. It is the shell that came before. So what this thing is it's literally a shell that contains the admin code. And when that shell hatched, the admin code was born. And when it was born, it looked at all the stuff that existed or didn't exist yet and said, we're going to make that start existing, whether it likes it or not. I'm going to wipe everything clean, which is what it did. It took everything and it wiped it clean. All that dust, it took it and immediately started messing with it. The only thing left of the original dust was its shell, which somehow did not get destroyed in the chaos, probably because it was made out of the same material that this thing was made out of. So this right here is the true, pure, almighty form of the admin code. So within this, like, power of creation, then came this timelines. You probably saw these in Scratch Fusion Part 10 Extra at the end, but this is the weaving of timelines. This is the chaos that was born from the timeline. So after that, the admin code essentially took all these different timelines and, like, knitted them together to create, like, existence, like actual timelines. So instead of just being a bunch of knots and like random events happening, there was an order in place. Now within this order, the admin code created a bunch of very straightforward, controlled timelines that didn't have any sort of variation in their outcomes. Like, for instance, a universe couldn't die. Like, people could fail and people could succeed, but there was no such thing as, like, destroying of universes, because that would be bad, especially to the admin code. So, much later, but actually not, because there was someone who was there since the beginning, and also in that world before everything, and that is the Sir Sense. He's not been in a video, but you have probably seen him if you did the secret room in the 100-Eye Goomba fight. So essentially what this guy is another one of those beings of potential, like those concepts before they became concepts. No one really knows what he was. He was outside of the creation and outside of the timelines and just kind of existed somewhere black, inky, and strange. So he's been there since anything. Like, fiercely loyal to some say even the cat. He was fiercely loyal to the cat and concepts and, like, the admin code to an extent, but he's been around for a very, very long time. So ever since then, he's kind of been doing his own thing. And also, he is extremely calculated. Like, he knows exactly what he wants to do whenever he does it. Billions of years in advance. Which is why he kind of schemed up this admin code scheme to try and find a successor. One thing that is also the case is he originally had a mouth. Now this mouth actively works against him. Like, if he is the extremely calculated and good at scheming, his mouth is literally completely counter to whatever he's doing. It will sabotage his plans in whatever way it can. We have not seen the mouth yet in anything I've made. But you will see it eventually in something upcoming. So yes, keep in mind Sir Sense is kind of like figuring out his plan and figuring out how he wants to create this successor. So like I said, if the middle line is a timeline, Sir Sense kind of exists like under it. Now, the admin code kind of takes a lot of effort to control the timelines, so the reason you see him in the certain form he's in during the Mario and Scratch thing is because he's not able to take on his true form because he's using a lot of his effort to manage the timelines and clip the timelines that are going to end. So like, Sir Sense exists below the timelines, admin code controls all the ones. Simple. That's the crazy cosmology out of the way. We're going to go down to more simple things now. We're actually going to something much later now. So yes, big surprise, Bandits Quest is canon to Scratch Fusion. Officially. Because, if you are aware, the Mario cast was in Mario and Scratch, which led to Scratch Fusion happening, because they saved Scratch from the admin code's control. So, these are the three founders of the alternate kingdom, which is where Bandits Quest takes place. So this is the orange Yoshi is related to he's not too old, like he's like about 15 realistically. What? No, back to 2012. He's about 13. Like, I mean, in Yoshi years, like, Yoshi's kind of aged like dogs. He ages a lot faster than you usually would. But yeah, no, he's not that old, realistically. I mean, he's older in Scratch Fusion timeline because he watches over stuff. And that's mostly what he does. He watches stuff and makes sure stuff goes as intended. He has a lot of power. He has reality powers, and he's a really skilled combatant. But yeah, he mostly just makes sure things go as planned through his computer. Yes, these characters. Over here is Boozworth. This is the Chapter 3 boss in Bandits Quest. He wasn't always a Boo. This is him post to death. I'm just using this appearance because this is the closest thing people have seen in videos. This is Jame, or Yame. This is not what he looked like during this time. He looked much more human during this time with a mask. Like I said, these are not the actual appearances. This is Baron Monsbag, the father of Tycoon Monsbag, who appears in Chapter 2 of Bandits Quest. And this guy is, in the most recent video I've made, this is a boss. You go back in time to fight him. He is very powerful. So, James the Spirit Bender. So he is... Well, these other guys are just like, they're just like... They all found this land and they were all doing their own thing. They all kind of like... Boozworth kind of founded an orphanage and decided to create like towns and stuff. Baron decided to create a casino and made a railway. And Yame decided to control the spirits of many different people because he had access to a very evil book. So within this book he learned about spirit bending. So spirit bending is like basically ripping people's souls away from them and controlling them, which is not good. He's been a lot of very dubious things. So he eventually met up with the... Oh, hello. He eventually met up with the Heretic Toad, the main antagonist of Bandits Quest. So Heretic Toad was an outcast toad who didn't really have any friends or anything. So whenever Yame came and talked to him, he was just like, hey, look, I can be your friend, and I can help you do things, and help you control... Yeah, so the book allows you to learn spirit bending, like... Oh, the mic is a little quiet. I can go into OBS and up that a bit. Is that better? Hopefully that's better. Hopefully that helps a bit. But yes. So the book kind of like, it helps you learn the forbidden art of spirit bending, and also help the Heretic Toad learn how to control his spores, which corrupts and taints things and kills things, like stuff like that. So they went to the Fountain of Ideals, which is really weird, and we'll get to what the Fountain of Ideals does, because it's one of the reasons the Mario Cast ends up in Scratch. So they basically scheme something. Heretic Toad's going to corrupt the fountain. Yames is going to be evil and expand his spirit bending powers to control everyone. So, please. PowerPoint. There you go. So this is so the big fight happens. Baron goes with Boozworth, and they realize that something bad's happening. So they go and fight against the Heretic Toad, and Yame. So they manage to fight them back, and during the process, Baron takes the wish from the fountain and uses it to seal the heretic toad and throw Yames into hell, which is something that will be covered later, with a little bit of his essence staying inside of the sealed stars, which get scattered and given to different people and placed in different places, and then many years later, after Baron's death and Boosworth's death, there will be a story. This is Leo and Phoebe. So their story is super important and will be told in a video. I don't know how much I want to spoil right now. Just so you know, they are very important, and their story happens a decent bit later than the events of this, of the sealing of the heretic toad and all that. They also live in this alternate kingdom, which is home to all the Shy Guys and stuff. So all you need to know there is something tragic happens. Something very tragic happens, and Phoebe becomes the Guildmaster. And that tragic event may or may not happen due to Sir Sense's involvement, but yes, so whether what happens or not, she won boss fight. Maybe. So Phoebe becomes the Guildmaster that you see in Bandits Quest. Now, this is a redesign of her that I'm making because I'm going to do a 2.0 version of Bandits Quest. So she becomes the Guildmaster, and she fights the anti-guy to take his place as Guildmaster, and she controls the guild for a good while she looks for a way to get the sealed stars. So she groups all these guys together, and they plan on how to steal the map from one of Peach's strongholds. So we're gonna take a little trip for a second. This is a little lore thing that. So yeah, Great Goomba Invasion is another part of the lore that fits in, and it's going to get a remake at some point in the future, probably through 2.0, SMBX 2.0. So this Goomba gem literally holds a god's power, to literally the Goomba goddess's power. Literally holds that power to convert anything into a Goomba. So Mario fights King Goomba, and that happens a good few years before Bandits Quest. And if you were aware, the Chapter 6 boss in Bandits Quest, the Goomsley, is a veteran from this war. He would then go on to fight Barry, after taking the 6th sealed star from the whale. So they would have their fight, and yeah. He would also have the pieces of the Goomba gem from whenever Mario shattered it. So back to Bandits Quest. So the entire events of Bandits Quest happens. Like, everything happens in Bandits Quest. You're gonna turn into a Goomba. If you don't watch the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, you're gonna turn into a Goomba. Yes, Bandits Quest, all the events from that happen in this context. So all the chapters proceed as normal, all the stuff happens. The plan... Oh yeah, by the way, James gets out of hell during an event of something that I'll probably get to in a video. So after he gets out of hell, he goes and he sets up this whole scheme to try and get Phoebe to release the heretic toad from its prison by using the sealed stars. So that happens, the heretic toad is released, and they do this fight. While the heretic toad is currently... The big final fight happens, and he corrupts the fountain, and he basically uses the fountain's core to recreate his physical body and have a big fight with the main characters. So during this fight, the Yoshis that are freed from his control go and try to fetch the Mario Bros. And Wario and Waluigi. So due to this strange mix of the powers from the fountain and the Heretic Toad's spores and the book and this evil book, as they are going to fetch Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi, they all get wished out of existence. Kind of. They all get wished to a different timeline because the Heretic Toad doesn't want to deal with 4 heroes, the Yoshis, and a bandit that's way too strong for his own good. So he wishes these guys away, including Captain Yoshi, who, yes, this draws a direct connection to the Yoshi that is seen in Mario and Scratch, who is Captain Yoshi from Bandits Quest. After being freed from the brain control. After being freed from the brain control spores. So they all get poofed away to somewhere completely different. So this is probably the turning point in Circense's big overall plan. This is where other things can start happening, and eventually the Heretic Toad is beaten by Barry, and everything is turned back to normal because the Sealed Stars help Barry defeat the Heretic Toad. Let's talk about boss rushes. We're actually now in Scratch. We're now in Scratch now. So, Big Bad Boss Beatdown, Waddle Dee Boss Rush, and Bossy Boss Rush all take place in, like, all the boss rushes kind of happened in this pre-Mario and Scratch era. So yes, Stick fights against the Dark Lord Phillips. Dark Lord Phillips is banished. He turns into a Murasama because Dark Lords turn into weapons when they're defeated. Well, if they're truly banished, yes. So yes, this whole thing happens, and Stick is tossed into a random dimensional rift by a certain someone to try and mess with the narrative. And yes, so now we're going to Mario and Scratch. So in order to mess with the overall scheme to put the Mario cast into Scratch to help them defeat the admin code, because due to the fact they are not from this timeline and therefore not under the jurisdiction of the admin code, they're allowed to defeat him and they're able to free Scratch from his control. They can't randomly be taken over by the admin code or controlled by him. So the admin code kind of like watches over all the boss rushes and watches over all the stuff happening, and including Orbiland, including all the stuff with Orbi, and like all those things kind of happen around the same, not the same time, like years and stuff like between, but from like a big scale, yes. And then Mario Cast gets tossed into Scratch, and due to Circense's smile, oh hello green flag. So due to Circense's smile, the Mario cast ends up being very grumpy and very rude, and he basically whispers in all their ears and makes them all very grumpy and unwilling to help. So eventually they end up fighting Scratch Cat, and if they choose to go with the violent route, end up getting the bad ending, where they beat up Scratch Cat and, you know, supposedly save the world. Meanwhile, the admin code, eventually Captain Yoshi gets basically taken to a completely isolated area with the admin code and learns about the admin code, so he tries to save Scratch Cat instead of kill him. So that's why there's the pacifist versions of each of the boss fights. And then Captain Yoshi directly confronts the admin code, who by this point is kind of corrupted by the fact that he wants to see the prosperity of Scratch. So in order to do that, he wants to kind of make essentially slop, like turn Scratch into something that creates content that would make the most people interested in it. So it essentially wants to create a bunch of these like boss rushes and stuff. Like, not boss rushes, but just scenarios where you can more easily reach out to people and make shitty stuff and make funny stuff. Like, stuff that, I don't know, that it's a sort of meta commentary on, like, how a lot of YouTubers making videos on Scratch projects will do, like, the ones that are just like, hey, look at Scratch. This is what Scratch is. So, Captain Yoshi fights against the admin code. And during this process, he wins. He beats the admin code down through its many phases, destabilizes it, because again, it's managing all these things. So that way the collab things get here, yeah. So whenever he beats the admin code, so yeah, I got a little ahead of myself, but yeah, right here I put since Captain Yoshi doesn't come from the Scratch world, he's kind of immune to the admin code's control over the Scratch code. So Scratch remains a puppet of the admin code for most of the early Scratch era. So yeah, the Fountain of Ideals is also a part of this. So the Fountain of Ideals is another one of the reasons why the Mario Cast didn't get controlled when they got there. Because it has multiversal travel capabilities. It can grant any desire. Literally any desire, as long as it's within the realm of possibilities. It can grant that desire. And it kind of sort of manipulated the Heretic Toad's desire to send the Mario Cast to the Scratch world, instead of straight up destroying them. So then, as you know, the Scratch Cat absorbs the admin code's core, after it is only left. The admin code's core is absorbed. Scratch kind of sort of starts to ascend. He gains his dash, and then he starts to go on the journey that is Scratch Fusion. So yes, this is a point that has kind of existed for a while, but also existed only really brought up in Scratch Fusion 3. This is only really being brought up in Scratch Fusion 3. But Emberly, the doctor that designed SCO3, it was a collaborative effort. So Emberly is kind of a inventor of many of these different machines. Like, she designed the original machines, and then she went and designed the exomech variants, or the machinations. So she designed a bunch of machines, and that fought Scratch Cat and a bunch of different people. So these will come in later. These ended up essentially being her finest creations to compete with Divine Power directly. And also, let's go to TMAT, and we'll go a little off. Does anyone have any questions right now? I went and I breezed through the pre-Scratch Fusion era. Does anyone have anything in particular they want to ask about the pre-Scratch Fusion era, or like where things kind of fit in with the overall lore? Because I think I've been speaking very fast. So yeah, there is also the character of Orby and his significance in this whole thing. So basically, these orb people, or Orbians, they have a lot of potential in them. So they have potential to be a shogun, which is an elemental master. A master of some sort of elemental concepts. They can also turn into a lookalike. Lookalike has his own slide somewhere. But yeah, Lookalike was a creation by Dr. Purple. So Dr. Purple essentially created something he wanted to create what is essentially an artificial shogun, which he failed. It kind of took on a will of its own, and instead of doing exactly what the doctor said, it was broken and decided to start copying things and catching the scent of things like Orby and Scratch to try and copy their forms, and in the process kind of stuck himself to Scratch to follow him around and get more bosses to turn into, because it likes the idea of turning into a bunch of different things and eventually replacing what it finds is the best thing to replace, so it can get more things to replace. You know, it's basically looking constantly for things to replace and consume or control. Not control, just consume and replace. That's so yeah, basically there are shoguns, and then there are things called circulons, or basically destabilized shoguns that pursue darkness and become evil, transform into these horrible creatures that still utilize their powers, except they're evil black masses of darkness. So yeah, Dr. Purple is yet another one of the doctors that exists. Now, he didn't make too much compared to people like, again, like Professor Z, or like the other doctors that exist within Scratch Fusion's continuity. T-Mat. Okay, yeah. So speaking of T-Mat, T-Mat is a very, very fast traveler of the universe. Not the multiverse. He only travels through galaxies and universes. He moves very fast. So there is much debate on whether or not they were created or slides. The Minecraft videos are not related. The Minecraft videos are not related to... They are their own self-contained thing. Beast Hunter is like its own... Like, the 3 parts of Beast Hunter are their own thing. So yeah, so basically what T-Mat is so he was modified by Emberly after he was defeated in the first Scratch Fusion. The other ones from different universes and different timelines are mostly just, they have some sort of weapon, they're extremely fast, they fight really well, and they are very formidable. Now, there are other ones that become rogue and start hunting other versions of them. The lemon, in particular, hunts different versions of itself. And they are all different beings with a similar purpose. They travel around the universe and kill things that are really strong. Kind of serve as agents. They hunt down beings that could become threats to everything around them. Now that that's out of the way, yeah, eventually T-Mat would fight Scratch Cat because it considered Scratch Cat a threat for whatever reason. He would be defeated, and eventually, much later on, again, he was not killed, he was just defeated and knocked away. He was knocked away and sent somewhere else. And eventually, Emberly would find him and boot him up again and fix him up, give him a bunch of new abilities. And then he would become, interested in fighting against SCO3 when they were going to collect the shell that came before, which would happen eventually. So now we get to another heavy lore significant character. This character has a lot of stuff behind him. So there were no other boss fights in Scratch Fusion 1 besides the final boss. Sorry about the flashbang, guys. But this right here is all-in-one. You all probably know who this is, because he is the final boss of Scratch Fusion 1. Third part. Betrays Scratch in the end, fights him, big crazy fight. That all happens. So in the main Scratch Fusion timeline, because again, when Scratch is going through Scratch Fusion, he is basically jumping to different scenarios. So whenever he fights a boss, he's fighting this boss in this scenario. I'm trying to make sure this works. Trying to make sure this works properly. Okay, there you go. So basically, what's going on with whenever Scratch fights something, it kind of happens in its own specific scenario, and then he goes on to the next one, and then the next, and then the next, and it all kind of connects somehow. It all connects together until Scratch gets to the very end. So in the end, he fights All-in-One, who was originally just a data collection machine made by Emberly. Emberly essentially designed it to collect information on Scratch. Basically read him and find out how he worked and why he was getting so strong, why his energy levels were rising so high, and eventually kind of observing this strange event where he absorbed the admin code's core. So All-in-One's main ability is to scan and collect something called battle data. So battle data is the patterns and abilities of enemies cataloged within a database. So you know how you open up like a document or like an Excel sheet and you can look up a bunch of stuff? Or like a dictionary, you look up a bunch of words. That dictionary gets filled in every time All-in-One watches a fight. So All-in-One can literally create a perfect copy of anything with much less durability and only being able to exist for a few minutes. It can create stronger projections if it wants to, but they aren't really as, stable. So he observed a bunch of boss fights because he was attached to Scratch, for a while, for most of the duration of Scratch Fusion. It can also create perfect projections of just characters in general. They don't actually have to be fighters. He can just watch them and create a version of them using their voice and have them have a conversation or something. But he was not content to do such things. He was more content to develop this evil personality. So, through the process of seeing Scratch Cat fight and it collected tons of data and developed self-awareness with a desire to learn more and be its own being. This conflicted with its commands from its creator, causing it to slowly lose its mind and develop a megalomaniacal desire to collect all of the battle data it can and become an all-powerful and kill anything that tries to stop it. I'm pretty sure PTAT was made by someone else. Oh, yeah. In that version, so that was a branch. Okay, so moving on to how timelines work. So there is the main timeline, and a timeline can branch. So kind of like how Scratch remixes work. There's like the original project, and when you remix a project, it creates a different version of that project, but the original project is still there. So there is a remix, aka a branch, of TMAT that turned into PTAT. So both things can exist. It's a different outcome of the same thing. So basically, if you say, do one thing, there's a version of you that did something else. So like, the multiverse. There's a branch between when you did something and the other you didn't do something. That's kind of like Scratch, except instead Scratch kills something, and in another universe, Scratch didn't kill something. So basically, All-in-One was going through this, going back to All-in-One. So he was going through this big existential crisis. He was just like, I have to follow my commands from Emberly. And then he was just like, oh, well, I see Scratch doing all these own things. He's doing his own thing, and he's fighting all these things. And I want to collect all these battle datas. I want to do my own thing. I want to be my own person. I want to live my own life and see things, and I want to experience things. And this all conflicted. Just like, both of these desires, like, conflicted with each other. Until eventually he just lost his mind. And decided that he was just going to control everything, and kill everything. Because that's the only thing that makes sense. The best way to experience everything is to destroy it and collect all its battle data, so it can kind of like encompass everything. So yeah, it has its big fight with Scratch. And eventually Scratch Cat defeats it. And it is completely destroyed. Now, that is not accounting for the different versions of All-in-One. For instance, there is Goomba Fusion, which exists in a different outcome where Goomba fuses with All-in-One, and Goomba becomes the dominant part of the fusion and has all the control. I mean, before eventually destabilizing. Then there's the Kami All-in-One fusion, which is where All-in-One is the dominant one, and kind of sort of ascends to a different plane of existence. Kind of like, he nearly becomes like a demigod, because he now has a soul. instead of just being a soulless robot that has a bunch of battle data in it, it now has an actual soul, which allows it to have more power and control more things. Which makes it like twice as dangerous. Now that is within the Scratch Fusion X timeline, which is a different timeline. So if the timeline thing, like I said, the easiest way to understand timelines is Scratch did a bunch of different things in a bunch of different scenarios, and they're all canon in their own way because they all lead to Scratch ascending. No matter how Scratch beat All-in-One, it happened. The remixes happened, everything happened. At the end of the day, everything from Scratch leads to Ascension. And of course, there is Lookalike, which I went over a little bit earlier, but during the process of Scratch Fusion 2, he was following Scratch around. I can put the slides out as like a separate document if you want to. Like I can share them, or actually I can download them and put them in like a Google Doc and have them like downloadable to make it so people can kind of go through that themselves. Yeah, I know this has been a lot of yapping. I apologize if it's been hard to follow. So yeah, Lookalike pretended to be Orbi. So you know the Orbi fight in Scratch Fusion 2? That's not Orbi. That is Lookalike pretending to be Orbi. After having lost to him in the original Orbiland. So he decided to try and take the form of Orbi. And then he tried to take the form of Scratch, which didn't work that well the first time, but the second time, by the way, after Scratch beat him up, he stuck a piece of himself on Scratch, kind of like how All-in-One did. Scratch is not observant. Scratch is pretty, he's not dumb, but he's very hard-headed, and most of the time just kind of breezes through things, which is why Scratch can sometimes make people mad and not, especially like, you know, when he fought the Omnipotent Cat, when he fought the Angels, he was basically just bum rushing his way through that scenario. Anytime you see Scratch like being a jerk or like antagonizing people, yeah, he just wants to fight. He wants to beat up people sometimes. And he gets a little too eager to do that. So he ends up in certain situations. But yeah, Lookalike kind of sticks a piece of himself onto Scratch. Scratch kind of takes that piece of Lookalike around as he fights. And Lookalike gets a bunch of new transformations. Which is why he transforms between them in his fight. Okay, we're finally there. We're at the end of Scratch Fusion 2. So yeah, between this fight and a few others, a bunch of stuff happens. Scratch beats up the Machinations, who were specifically designed off of the battle data that Emberly recovered from Scratch and from the machines that she had fight him before. Alright, so Divine Vessel happens. So as Scratch is going up the metaphorical stairs... Yeah, I mean, Scratch is kind of like Goku. I mean, I would compare him to Goku. It's like if Goku broke into your house and, like, demanded you fight him, and then if you didn't fight him, he fought you anyways, and then kind of left you within an inch of your life sometimes, but like I said, he's not doing it to be mean most of the time. There's kind of like a fire inside of him that he's not really sure how to control sometimes. Which is why he can go down like evil routes. Which is why there are things like there's stuff like we'll say the Keeper Saga, where he does go down a dark path, mostly because of his overeagerness, leading him to do bad things. Again, that's how I would put it. Like I said, he's definitely a bit selfish. Like I said, the memes, I think the, what is it, Kaboom made a meme about Scratch, like, breaking into someone's house and, like, fighting them. That's kind of, like, how I would say Scratch acts. Okay, so we're gonna, a little offside. Barry is, from Bandits Quest, is just, again, he's mostly just, he wants to kind of experience a bunch of things. He wants to experience the world, and in order to do that, he's willing to take money from people. So he's not malicious, he's just, needs the money. And, gets paid by the Guildmaster. And kind of just does most of Bandit's Quest to get the money so he can make the wish at the fountain, so he can experience everything, which leads him to Orange Yoshi. Yeah, I mean, he is a completely separate entity in Keeper Saga. But again, like I said, if we look at it from the perspective of, like, this is still a version of Scratch, those are kind of like the things that carry over. Like I said, yeah, basically, like I said, it's still the vague idea of Scratch. But again, he is evil, and in that version of the timeline, yes, Scratch is very different. But most alternate timelines, aka the sagas, have essentially the same type of Scratch. Like, in terms of, like I said, in terms of personality, I think Scratch is a hero. Just a very clumsy and dumb and overly ambitious hero who gets into way too many fights. Like I said, if you look at the omnipotent cat fight, he basically just barges in on an angel and starts a fight randomly. That's an easy way to characterize him. He's, like I said, he's also a hero. He knows when things are wrong, and due to the admin code within him, he's aware of when things are going to go bad. So he locks in and he becomes serious and he fights the evil thing. He knows when to lock in when it's needed, which is very nicely brings us into Divine Vessel. So Divine Vessel is every single soul from the dead bosses that Scratch kills, the evil ones, that all merge together into one soul. They go to somewhere, they go to a timeline that doesn't have much going on and create a vessel. They create this like shell that looks like Scratch Cat because they're so bitter at Scratch Cat. They want to create a shell that looks like him to be like, haha, this is how stupid you look. We're going to beat you up looking like you and your stupid smile and your stupid face. We're going to beat you up with that. And then when you die, we're going to look at you and be like, haha, you're dead. So whenever the vessel is defeated, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Poltergeist. If you really think about it, it kind of be like, instead of Yarum being a jerk and killing a bunch of people, well, I mean, even then, like, in the new Calamity lore, he's not a jerk. He just kills a bunch of people and all the souls kind of, like, become Poltergeist. and then you have to fight it later. But yes, all the souls are evil inside a divine vessel. So they basically... So whenever you defeat the main shell of the vessel, it destabilizes and it becomes that giant mass that looks like a titan. So Scratch can't defeat this. Like, with the current power he had, he couldn't beat it. So the admin code, he tapped into the admin code and fully ascended to the admin form. So this is... So yeah, he takes on this admin form. He takes on the admin Scratch form, which may or may not be like a lower tier version of the transformation. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Yes, I will... I'll talk about the Bowser as the King version. So yeah, after Scratch takes on this new form, he destroys the Divine Vessel's core, and all the evil souls are banished. I mean, most of them are just destroyed completely from existence, because Admin Scratch is very, very strong. Like, basically unbeatable strong. Like, he can rewrite reality just as he feels like it, because the admin code is... He's now acting with the admin code. So Bowser is the King's version of admin code. Not admin code. Divine Vessel is a different take on it. So instead of the Divine Vessel being completely shattered, it kind of takes on its own personality and kind of considers himself, like, I'd even say from, like, what I've seen, like, a guardian of, like, the idea of divinity. He kind of develops, like, instead of all the souls being, like, fighting with each other and, like, who gets to kill Scratch, it kind of they all work together and become one entity. And they kind of become their own thing. I really like the idea of that. I think it's interesting to see Divine Vessel as not a hostile, like, monster that just wants to kill Scratch Cat. So what I mean by this is... Oh yeah, I'm still looking forward to that fight, by the way. When that does come out, it will be peak. Yeah, so what I mean at the top here with 8 points is divine, 4 points is failure. So, like I said, this star symbol is very important to Scratch Fusion. Or, like, I guess my work in general. This is the star that, like, embodies, like, the divine transformation, like divinity. And the 4-pointed star kind of represents a failure to hit divinity. Oh, okay. The source... Oh, that's interesting. Like I said, the 4-pointed star is essentially a almost divine. You're kind of hitting the halfway point. But you're still kind of... there's still something falling short. So you'll actually see this 4-pointed star multiple points. Same thing with the 8-pointed star. But yeah, there's a reason why this... Like I said, everything is kind of like a arms race to hit divinity. a lot of people were fighting with Scratch Cat because they wanted to be gods themselves or take the admin code's spot as like a god when they realized he was dead. So yeah, Scratch beat the tar out of the admin code. I mean, Scratch beat the tar out of the Divine Vessel. And eventually a bunch of other stuff would happen. Eventually yeah, he was basically, metaphorically, like I said, you all can take whatever you want out of the staircase, whatever it means from your perspective. Scratch's speech is kind of meant to be interpretive. So after that, the Bullet Demon, a being that was kind of created when Scratch Cat absorbed the admin code due to the variation in the timelines. So Bullet Demon kind of like basically made Scratch fight a bunch of really hard bosses to try and test him to see if this admin power was really working with him. So he made him fight a bunch of variations on his final fight and a bunch of other stuff because Bullet Demon ended up inheriting a bunch of power and basically became kind of the embodiment of BS hard difficulty. Basically became the embodiment of bullet hell. So eventually, the one with all fight, one with all, within all, would happen. So that fight would basically be like, is essentially a, like I said, that is a culmination of a bunch of stuff from the Omni arc and a bunch of that continuity. Eventually it would lead to using the data from, using the blueprints essentially from the All-in-One. Like many have tried to recreate All-in-One because the machine is, it's a very good machine. So yeah, that big fight would happen. Scratch would have this crazy battle with one within all, and the whole universe would kind of almost be, the whole multiverse would almost be reset. But Scratch finishes the full-on Ascension by that point and masters his admin form. And shoves it all together again and basically puts everything together again. And then Bullet Demon congratulates him and he goes to the throne and sits in it. And then basically starts to manage all the timelines again. Although he's not as good at it as the admin code is, because okay. Yeah, the boss, again, instead of one within all using battle data, it used boss energies, much more powerful essences of the bosses. So yeah, basically Bullet Demon saw Scratch Cat and congratulated him for beating this extremely hard challenge. As you can tell, a bit of Scratch Cat is kind of rubbed off on Bullet Demon. He's also very reckless and has control over different timelines to a much lesser extent. Instead of like making new ones and making a bunch of other stuff, he's only able to manipulate where Scratch is going and control where people are going. So when they're jumping from different scenarios, like from different fights, instead the Bullet Demon can control which fight is next and which, instead of like Scratch Cat where he just goes wherever he feels like it, for better or for worse. Like I said, Bullet Demon like congratulates Scratch, he goes to the throne, he manages all the timelines. Like I said, he doesn't do it as well as the admin code did, which may or may not cause a big problem. Because of how admin code would clip the timelines that were about to end. Like I said before, the admin code didn't want timelines to end. The universe ending is something that would never happen. It would always be cut short before that could happen. Or something would reset the universe before it ended. Or the admin code would step in and stop the villain from winning, or the hero from losing. And now that literally anything can happen, now universes can end, which causes a different set of problems. Because the end might actually be, a physical thing. And when there is a embodiment of all creation and timelines and potential, with the admin code literally being existence, the code of Scratch personified. This thing is literally the code of Scratch personified. There must be an opposite to that. And that opposite is something that should never be spoken of. And it also may or may not have been left inside of the shell, taking up the space that wasn't taken up by anything else in the shell. So yes, Scratch manages the timelines now and allows for a bunch of different stuff to happen, different collabs, different scenarios. By the way, Scratch can still exist in different forms. There's just now the admin Scratch overlooking everything. So yeah, Scratch can still... There are still versions of Scratch that are going on their adventures and fighting things. And also, there's also a thing with cats. Cats are also, basically immortal for the most part. They don't die. Cats in general just don't want to die. If a cat dies, they just get back up and try again. It's like a reset and they try again. They basically have... It's not really existence and destruction. It's more like... I guess it's more like the fact that the code, from a meta perspective, it's the code. And the without code. But yes, cats are just notoriously hard to kill. They do not die. If you are a true cat, it is impossible to kill you. Somewhere down the line, you'll just reappear again. Railgunner, normal cat, they all get defeated and come back later. Because they are cats, and cats don't die, and that includes Scratch Cat. Scratch Cat coming back to life is not a result of the admin code. That's just what cats are. There are many things in the universe that hate cats. Specifically because they cannot die. From a storytelling perspective, the reason the admin code and in the meta perspective from admin code is kind of to serve as a meta commentary on how Scratch is ran, and also the fact that it's the duty of the people to run Scratch. Scratch is a collaboration, which is the key element of everything I want you to get out of this. everything is a collaboration, and we're all working together. It is the people that give Scratch the power. Like, it is this collaborative existence that causes Scratch to be so strong, and also yeah. Like I said, this is a kind of meta commentary on how Scratch is ran, and the fact that people just get banned for no reason, and also you cannot create horror projects at all. Like, you will be banned from the website and stuff. Like I said, this is kind of meant to be like, said at the end of the day, Scratch is made by the people. We are Scratch. We are all Scratch Cat, and Scratch Cat is our avatar. So, getting to SC03. So SC03 is a model that exists as the third incarnation of this robotic Scratch. So there are actually two older models of Scratch, of SC03, and many other models of SC03. There's SC0, there's SC0, SC01, SC02, SCX. Like, there's many different versions of this type of robot. So 03 was made by a collaborative effort of Professor Z's technology when it comes to creating Scratch, creating essentially code that mimics Scratch Cat, Emberly's battle data and all that stuff, and a bunch of other different scientists like Professor Metal, and basically any sort of like doctor or professor that is in Scratch Fusion has contributed to SC03 in some manner or form. Because SC03, the way Emberly pitched him is that he's going to be a better version of Scratch Cat. Because they've all seen Scratch Cat mess up all their stuff. So they want to see SC03 fix everything. They want to see SC03 run things correctly, without all this chaos that exists because of choice. Because of people being able to choose things, and things being able to go badly or well. All this chaos. They want to see someone responsible in charge. They want someone more responsible in charge. So they want SC03. So Emberly sends out SC03 to fight a bunch of stuff. So he fights a bunch of stuff, and then, again, this is where the current timeline is right now. SC03 is going about his business and fighting for the sake of Emberly. She's communicating with him through his systems and telling him what to do and everything like that. Watching him very closely and making sure he knows what he's doing. Because the older models of SC03 had a lot of flaws with them. Whether it be thinking they're Scratch Cat too much, or doing their own thing, or just not working well at all. SC03 is literally the way he functions is basically just copying many elements from Scratch. In fact, he's very closely designed to how All-in-One is designed. SC03 is basically All-in-One if it was given a cat body. He can adapt and copy the battle data and use it to fight more effectively. He can document it and use it more effectively than other robots can, because he actually has a physical body to fight with it. He can copy Scratch's dash, he can copy his bullets, he can copy the bombs used by a normal cat. Like, he can use so many aspects of other beings. And he may or may not have the ability to ascend beyond his regular programming. Again, nothing's seen of it right now, but there is the potential. The big thing right now is the fact that SCO3 can come back like any other cat can when he's destroyed. Whether or not Emberly is aware of it, again, she only studies things. She can't escape where she is. Again, most things can't travel through the universe. Most things can't travel through the multiverse. You just can't do that. It is so hard to do that. Cats are very uniquely gifted because they're... If you've ever had a cat before, you know they completely ignore anything that you do and just do whatever they want. That is the reason why cats can travel through the multiverse. Because they don't care. They don't care what you're doing. They don't care what you are. They will do whatever they want. For better or for worse, cats will do whatever they want. And SCO3... But yeah, essentially, again, Scratch Cat has essentially been named as the cat because, you know, he's essentially the god of the current Scratch Fusion world. They call him the cat now. So yes, SCO3 is essentially developed into a cat. Now, whether or not that affects how he acts or what he does is still to be seen. And yeah, not everything that looks like a cat will be a cat. Like, many of the robots can't really do things that regular cats do. Catworms, not really. None of these things that act like cats normally don't get as far as regular cats do. You gotta be like a true cat to do these things, or something very, very close to an actual cat. Like I said, SCO3 is the closest thing to Scratch Cat that there is that isn't him. It's like imitation. It's like vegan, the vegan variant of Scratch Cat, if you really want to put it like that. But yeah, no. Scratch Fusion is a multiverse. And there's, again, the reason it's a multiverse isn't because I want to overcomplicate. I mean, I already overcomplicated things. This whole thing is very complicated for no reason. But the reason it is a multiverse because you all can do whatever you want. Like, this is my continuity for that makes sense and connects a bunch of my videos. It connects together very, like I said, there's a bunch of time between events and a bunch of stuff happens between things, but these are the major events that take place. Like I'm gonna do this. Yeah, going from like here to 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 here, like all these different things are all a sequence of events that takes place in my videos. And there are also the arcs and the different variations on things. Like, they all happen. Like, you all are the designers of the story. Scratch Fusion is everyone's story. It's not just my story. I just try to wrap things up to make things satisfying and make a conclusion. You all can create as much of the story as you want. Like, this is just the broader aspects of the story that tie everything together and make my videos make sense in a grander spectrum. Because everything happened for a reason. Like, whether it be the scheme by Sir Sense fighting with his own, literally his own smile, he was fighting with his own mouth to get this whole thing happening. Like, he had to do a lot of stuff to get this whole situation in place, to put Scratch in that chair. And a lot of stuff still has to happen. Like I said, people can still remix these projects. You can make a different version of the Divine Vessel that does different things. Like, you can create a different version of, like, All-in-One still. He could still exist in different universes. He could still exist, like, somewhere else. Like, that's the nature of the multiverse. All stuff can be possible at the same time, while also some of it won't be. That's just the nature of the beast. Is there anything else people want to try to have answered? I can also go off about Orange Yoshi and what he's doing during the span of Scratch Fusion, and by extension, I guess, Bandits Quest. I'm definitely not going to go into the category of lore for Mugen Timeline, because Mugen Timeline's its own completely different thing. Because I'd have to explain, like, Donald. Now, the most lore important bosses that aren't made by me. I'd say probably the rematch with Phillips, because that is a version of Phillips that got past the Scratch absorbing the admin code part, which caused Phillips to become much stronger than he was. So that's pretty important. I'd also say that Omnipotent Cat is also pretty important to the lore. Especially because that's one of the first times Scratch has agitated someone that isn't evil. And of course, One Within All is pretty important, because that's probably one of the strongest foes he's fought. Professor Z Saga is also pretty big, because that was a point where he was directly beefing with Professor Z, and how he learned a lot about Scratch's battle data. I also think, Abnormal Stick. I'm going to go to slides that make sense for this, to keep it so I'm not just using the same slide over and over again. Abnormal Stick is also very important to the lore of Scratch Fusion, because that is the end point of where Stick's arc is. Not the end point, kind of a middle point. So Stick ends up going on a completely different journey between boss beatdown and Scratch Fusion, where his fight in Scratch Fusion is the middle point of that journey. After that, he kind of goes on a bit of a redemption arc, we'll say, which will be the case in another story. So if you've ever seen the FERT video that has Scratch Fusion Another Story stick, yeah, no, that's very important, and that'll be an official thing. Orby and Orange Yoshi are also going to get another story. And maybe T-Mat. They'll get these another story timelines. Other important events to Scratch Fusion. Well, Kamek dying is another important thing, because Kamek dies, and then eventually, and then Kami dies, and then Mecha Kamek gets made, and then all those fights happen. Like, that all happens in sequence. Not really in sequence, like, it happens over the course of a different amount of time. Oh, okay. But yeah, so stick people. So what stick people are is they kind of represent the idea of like humanity. Stick people are also very like strong melee wise. Like stick people are very good melee fighters. Like they are very good at fighting close quarters, fighting up close. And like there was actually, like I said, stickmen are also very prone to falling from grace because they represent a lot of aspects of humanity. They are very prone to falling into temptations and being controlled. They don't really come back to life though, unless someone interferes with them or brings them back to life directly. Which means Big Bad Boss Beatdown is one continuous thing, and the resets are not canon. But yeah, basically... So during the events of Bandits Quest, he's basically just serving as the person watching over everything. And when Barry meets him in the... wherever he ended up, he's very depressed. Because again, he's very lonely. And it's important to say that he's been lonely. He's very lonely over the course of Scratch Fusion. He doesn't really interact much, and most of the time he just kind of serves as watching through his monitor and making sure everything works. He doesn't necessarily interfere unless he has to. He just watches a bunch of stuff happens. And yeah, he's just depressed. I mean... he watches through his monitor, he just kind of manages things, he's a pretty good fighter, and he has a bit of reality manipulation powers. He can create a bunch of stuff, he can manipulate matter, he can create energy, use that little trident he has to commune with, to draw some power from the admin code. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Orange Yoshi is very much an overseer, and probably the closest... I mean, Orange Yoshi isn't me. Like, he's not me. Orange Yoshi is like... if I was to compare Orange Yoshi to anyone, it would be me from 2018. Orange Yoshi is essentially me from, like, the Mugen era of my channel. And that's how I've decided to characterize him. He's basically me from like 5 years ago. He may be my self-insert of sorts, but he's not me. You'll see a lot more of Orange Yoshi eventually. He hasn't really appeared in too many Scratch projects. Impactful arc. I mean, Omni arc is really impactful. And by extension, I also think Wario RPGs, yeah, they tie in. Like, Wario RPGs are like, they happen after they happen after Mario and Scratch. Because Wario's kind of doing his own thing then. They're not really integral to anything. Like, it's mostly just Wario going on his own little adventures. But yeah, what is the most impactful arc? Like I said, Omni arc is very impactful. I'd say all the arcs are impactful in a way. Like, S-Bot arc is where Scratch fights against Ult 2-1. I'd say also Professor Z is probably one of the most, like, secondarily the most important, just because it's, like I said, it's the professor learning about Scratch. And also the and most of the arcs are their own, like, I might make a remake of S-Bot arc, of the S-Bot arc, just so I can put things together. Said I'm gonna do a few more arcs from Scratch Fusion too. I'll definitely put apparent reasons in something, whether it be an extra part of Scratch Fusion or just putting it in an arc video in general. But yeah, most stuff that happens in the arcs is just within a certain universe. Just within one universe. Just not overly, not big stakes, like mostly just happening within one universe. They're mostly just different adventures for a different version of Scratch Cat. But yeah, I'm hoping in the future to create the next big thing for this will probably be Phoebe and Leo's story. Oh yeah. I could do compilations like I can do like themed compilations, like this is like creepy bosses, like oh, distortion timeline. Distortion is alright, so the distortions are the result of some sort of interference from a specific being. So there is a specific being going back in time and messing with Scratch's fights. Because this being exists outside of time, outside of space, and it just goes to a certain entity or boss and messes with it, completely changing something about it. Most of the time, it's removing something from that boss that makes them stronger, but also makes them unstable and makes them more dangerous. And if there's enough of this distortion, Scratch is not aware of this distortion, and he'll fight a lot stronger because of it, even though he's not aware of why he's fighting stronger. Like, he knows something is wrong because the distortion is happening. And if this distortion is allowed to continue, it will, like, again, it'll destroy the timeline. Scratch can't allow that to happen. Something within him, perhaps it's the admin code itself, figures out what this is and wants to stop it. Like I said, the ending of the first Scratch Fusion 3 part is also very directly tied into this, and also the end of the Keeper Saga video. It's a similar entity, and it's an entity that no one wants to talk about. It's an entity that, even if you ask the all-knowing Sir Sense about, he does not want to talk about this entity. Because a lot of individuals that know about this entity don't want this entity to be known. Because they fear if it is known, it'll make its presence more known. All I have to say is, there's something very dire in the works. And SCO3 is going to have to stand up to it. Whether he likes it or not, this will be this thing that has been lurking since even before, since during the time of the admin code. A being that serves as the yang to the yin. If Scratch Fusion, and by extension the admin code, is creation and the expression of creativity and working together and collaboration, there must also be something broken and alone and singular. And if the admin Scratch isn't and due to admin Scratch not knowing about it, it may or may not lead to the end. But that's all I'll say about that entity right now. Because that entity is very, very important, and the more it makes itself known, the more the tone of this series is going to change. Or I guess the tone of things in general is going to change. And who knows? All of you people playing Scratch Fusion might have to make a choice. What decision you want to make when time comes. Yeah. If you want to call it a Cerebus syndrome. Yeah, eventually we are going to take on a more serious continuity. I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Don't let that change how you all do your projects, though. But you may also look forward to it. And like I said, you may have seen this entity before. And how you all choose to interpret it may also change how things are as well. Because at the end of the day, it is the people that decide Scratch Fusion and its future. You all are the ones that put the hope into the dire situations. You are the ones who create Scratch's opponents. You are the ones who design. You are also the ones who decide how the machine is developed. How SCO3 learns. Because whether he likes it or not, SCO3 has the same type of code that's within All-in-One. And there's the potential that SCO3 can become corrupted. Just like how All-in-One became conflicted with its own thoughts and memories. Just like how All-in-One can come together and conflict with its desires and its want to please its master, but also its desire to learn more. There's the potential that SCO3 can fall down a dark path if it is not nurtured and loved and given the potential that it needs to develop into a better machine. Will SCO3 be a hero, or will it become distorted and evil and fall down the same dark path that so many of Emberly's inventions have before? With her only inventions that she truly trusts being the 3 machinations that she's had fight the cat, because they don't have a will of their own. Emberly has, we'll call it a fear. She has a fear that in the end she will end up creating another monster. But the only thing that she didn't create that's a monster was her 3 perfect machines designed to defeat the cat. Now, even though they can't defeat the cat, they can still subdue the things that the other inventions that she makes that go awry. But that is just the nature of using human learning type algorithms. In that way, a machine is like a child. You must nurture it well and teach it. Especially with those types of cores that she puts in her machines. But yes, is there any other questions people would like to ask? Again, I think I'm done being cryptic for a while. I'm also interested in seeing what potential collaborations people make and what sagas are made in the future. I've already seen a lot of promise, like in some sagas. I'm very interested in seeing where these sagas go and how people interpret SCO3. Just like people have interpreted Scratch Cat before. No, yeah, but in general, I thank you all for understanding everything. I think you all understood everything. For sticking around and chilling out and asking questions and interacting. I'm always thankful to have everyone on stream. I don't stream very often. How do I feel about inner collaborations? I say go for it. I say go for it. Use the engine to create like little storylines with a bunch of different types of bosses. As long as you all know what you're doing and like work together with it, like, oh, that's cool. Like, it keeps the community going. Like, if a bunch of people make a saga, or like a bunch of people make a bunch of projects that have continuity with each other, that's really cool because that creates its own story. Like, that allows, like, again, like I said, there's a reason why Scratch Fusion is a multiverse. Oh my god. Seizure warning. Yeah, like I said, the reason Scratch Fusion is a multiverse is because you all can do what you want with it. Like I said, it keeps the whole idea alive. Like, if you all create a bunch of different projects that are canon to each other, that creates another timeline. That's another world. It creates a route. It creates like a timeline. Yeah, I might end up deleting the original SBot video if I make a fully fledged version of it. But yeah, there are definitely more predetermined routes in Scratch Fusion, whether it be whether there is a predetermined route or not. Again, that's different timelines, that's different scenarios. There's a reason it's like written like that. But yeah, like I said, you all can interpret things how you want to. Like, this is the continuity that I've put in place, and this connects a bunch of my videos together. And yeah, if you all enjoy that, then yeah, I'm glad you all were here, and I'm glad. Oh, hello. My favorite alternate take on my bosses. I really like One Within All. I also really like the Phillips, the Dark Lord Phillips. I mean, to be completely honest, I like any reinterpretation of my bosses. Like, I'm not really gonna prefer one or the other. I just really appreciate it when people remake the stuff I make. like it feels like I really enjoy that because I like people's reinterpretations or like how they viewed it compared to how I viewed it when I created it. Like I had a completely different idea that someone else reinterpreted into something bigger and newer. My favorite lore boss that tries to add on specifically to my lore. Like, which one's got it the most correct? Like, I'm not really sure with that one, to be honest. Like, I think the newer, like, the Divine Vessel one that I featured in my latest video does a pretty good job. Basically, calling out Emberly on her, trying to mimic the power of the gods. What else? Like a lot of the tests, like said most people like. I mean, abnormal stick I think fits in pretty well too. But then again, that was mostly just after the fact. Like I don't know. It's kind of a hard question because most of this lore stuff was in my head before I decided to actually write it down and make. I mean, I've always had notes of it, and I've always had like put the hints in the videos. This is the first time I've ever made like a timeline of it. Like everything is down somewhere. It wasn't organized until right now. But now it's actually organized, and people could just sit down and they can look at it and be like, I understand now. It makes sense in like its own overcomplicated way. Like if you took Kingdom Hearts and like you made it even more confusing. But for the most part, it's like the characterizations are not too complicated. Like I said, it's mostly just Scratch being very. I mean, Scratch's personality was developed by the community, and I just made the most interesting interpretation from that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you all can fit in your lore to the Scratch Fusion multiverse. Like, yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing about the multiverse. All of your lores fit into the multiverse. Like I said, with most of the characters, like, most of them are pretty simple to interpret. Like, admin code basically lost his way after existing for so long. So it puppeteered everyone to try and create this perfect version of Scratch. Emberly is ambitious, but also very nervous about her ambition. All-in-One is crazy and power hungry and wants to destroy everything and control everything. Professor Metal and Dugo. I actually really like Professor. I mean, I really like Dugo. I think the music is really fitting for him. I think he was just a pretty well made boss in general. I like the parry, like the Ganondorf type stuff. Like in terms of like also Orbiland 2, I'm hoping to get that out and done. That's one of those projects that I kind of got. I didn't know what to do with it, but now I think I know what to do with it and try to fit it in with like greater lore. I'm gonna make a 2.0 version of Bandits Quest first. That's probably the biggest priority right now. I want to kind of like unify Bandits Quest with Scratch Fusion. And then I want to do the thing with two specific characters, Phoebe and Leo. And also, the next big thing I'm going to interpret is Sir Sense's involvement with everything. And why he's so important. Also, yeah, no, I totally say that you all should interpret other people's work too. Like, all the collaborations will always exist. Like, Scratch Fusion 1, 2, and 3, they'll always be there. Like, Scratch Fusion X, it'll always be there. Like, you all can remix everything. SEO3 didn't lose his mind. I mean, admin code just became way too. He just became way too controlling. He just wanted to control everything. He got too hyper focused on the prosperity of Scratch and making it perfect. Like, he was just like, I can make Scratch the best website it can be, and I need to make sure everyone is directly under my control to do it. I want to create this hero versus villain scenario. I want Scratch Cat to be the villain and the Mario characters to be the good guys, and I want them to fight them, and it'll make the perfect hero story and everyone will love it. But Captain Yoshi was just like, I'm going to do the good thing, and I'm going to save this cat. I'm going to save Scratch, and we're all going to fight the admin code together to get our will back. We're going to get our power back and our choices back. B from Mobile Boss Rush. Her. Alright, so B is, so it may seem very strange what her role is. She is the daughter of Fert. Like, B is Fert's biological child. So if you're wondering how that even works, let's just say on April 1st, Fert just does a lot. Like, Fert gets as much as he can done on April 1st because that's the only day he's able to escape from his prison. Anytime it is April 1st, Fert does whatever he wants for that day. Like, he will ruin whatever he wants to, mess with whoever he wants to. He will do whatever he wants for that one day. Anytime you see Fert out, it's on April 1st. See him messing with the channel, it's on April 1st. He can do whatever he wants on that day. And during that chance, one of those days, he had a child. And that child ended up being B. And then B went on her own adventure. And she really likes spam for whatever reason. And she's also insane and also kind of chaos. They're both like chaos gremlins and they both mess with whatever they can. Oh, so Emberly's opinion on One Within All. Her opinion on it is, it mostly just reminds her of the mistake she made with All-in-One. She doesn't like talking about All-in-One because it is very much like she nearly messed everything up by making All-in-One, and she's terrified of making another one. So when she sees one that did that much shit, she's terrified of it. I mean, yeah, Furt might be able to mess with you. Like, Furt can mess with whoever he wants to. If it is on April 1st, Furt will be. He can be in your house right now. He could be replacing all of your shoes with mac and cheese. He could be replacing your Steam library with 500 copies of Uma Musume. He could be replacing every video game in your cabinet with like Shrek party game. People porting stuff from my other boss rushes. I think that's really cool. Like, the way I make boss rushes, I like to make things like really condensed and like simple. I like to make the bosses like flow into each other. Like, I try not to make boss rushes too long, so it's interesting to see people turn a boss from a boss rush into something even bigger than it was before, or like reinterpret it. I mean, I don't know how he made the baby. However it happened, it happened. Furt had the baby. Somehow Furt procreated with something. Furt's lore significance is he's stuck in like one place for most of his existence, and he gets really pissed off and he gets really mad that he's stuck in that one place. And he's mad that he doesn't have a choice whenever he's stuck in that place, and he's mad. Is he married? So he's so mad from being stuck in that one place for his entire life that he just goes out and messes everything up whenever he gets free. Hey, Furt can be. There may be. Again, he's such a chaotic entity. He is such a chaotic entity, he may be the most charming entity in the whole world to someone. Like, he could be the most charming thing you've ever seen at one point. He could become like the person of your dreams at some point in one of his random chaotic episodes. Like, he probably could have gotten married in like 1 hour and like had a child in those few hours. I don't know, like, and when it comes to Furt, anything is possible. But yeah, it is currently, in my time, it is 12:05. So, is there any other questions anyone would like to ask? If not, I'm probably going to wrap up the stream. Because I think I've gotten everything out of the way that I wanted to do without spoiling too much of any future projects. This is basically a wrap-up of all of our lore so far. Most importantly right now, look forward to the project featuring these two, because they are going to have a very interesting story and may or may not be involved with Super Mario Bros. X. And you'll get to see what exactly happens to them that causes Phoebe to become the Guildmaster. The portal at the end of T-Mat's game. Oops, that's not what it's called. T-Mat, after the Platinum Gold Premium Edition, goes to fight Scratch Cat. Yes, I look forward to all of your future projects, and we shall see where Scratch Fusion goes. And I would like to say thank you all for joining. Thank you all for being. Thank you all for hearing the app, hearing me write, hearing me do stuff, hearing me talk about multiverses and stuff, talk about universes and multiverses and all that stuff. I hope you all enjoyed thoroughly. I hope you all had fun. I hope this was enjoyable, and if any of you weren't here for the full thing, I will have this as a VOD. I thank you all for joining, and you all are amazing. I love you all so much. You're a great audience. I don't know, I didn't mean to get that real. Alright, yeah, no. I'm glad this whole, like I said, Scratch Fusion, I'm so glad Scratch Fusion is so popular among so many people. It is so awesome to have this thing going. It is so awesome to have this collaborative lore, this whole project going. But yeah, no, I'm glad I had you all here. You all are freaking awesome, and your bosses are amazing. And yeah, no. I will see you all in the next Orange Yoshi project. And we may or may not be faced with the finale of the universe soon. Or even the finale of the multiverse. Ha ha ha. Alright. Thank you all for watching.